The Gitrog Monster versus Kykar Wind's Fury. Now then, are we going to draw into green or are we not going to draw into green? I think waiting for green from a turn 4 Solemn is not good enough. It's a shame because that's a half decent hand. Alright, well we've got all the colours we need there, so we'll get rid of Brutalizer Exarch. And then it is Terramorphic Expanse into a forest, I think. We've got Urborg. So we'll just get a forest here and pass over. Want to get all of our tap lands out of the way as soon as we can. And a Mana Vault on turn 1 from our opponent. Not too scared of a Mana Vault against a 3-colour commander. Let's just get... Yeah, we'll get Urborg into play. And then we don't have to worry about black mana. Just holding up some mana there. Oh, actually, they're not holding up blue mana at all, are they? So we don't have to worry about a counter spell here. I think we've got plenty of lands to drop, so we don't need to rush out a Courser of Kruphix. I think we can just go for Tireless Tracker here, and then go in for Garruk next turn. And then the more lands we make, the more Investigate triggers we will get with the Tireless Tracker. Alright, just getting into Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. And they get rid of our Tireless Tracker. Where does that go? It goes third from the top. Well, we're going to be shuffling soon, I think. In fact, let's get down the Garruk Wild Speaker now. And we will make a Beast token with that so that we can go in at Teferi, hopefully, next turn. If they make a land here, I assume that they're going to go in for Kykar, and they won't want to block the Beast with Kykar. So we're probably getting rid of Teferi next turn. There is Kykar, not coming down with haste, fortunately for us. And they have plus the Teferi, so they get to draw a card and untap a couple of lands. Let's just play a land and swing in with the Beast. They might have an instant to cast, and then they'll be able to chump with a Spirit. Okay, just deciding to block with Kykar. Oh, that is surprising. So, in that case, they are just aiming to keep their Teferi around. It's a -3 on this, isn't it? In that case, let's go for the Beast token. And we're going to draw into a new card next turn. No, we're not. We're going to draw into the Tireless Tracker, aren't we? So if we go for Entomb, we can shuffle up the library and put Life from the Loam in the bin. I don't want to run out Gitrog into Teferi, although it will force our opponent to take that down. But they have to plus it up first, so let's, now that I'm thinking about it, let's go for Gitrog. I didn't want to run out Gitrog without him seeing the sack effects from the lands. Now we're going to draw into Tireless Tracker again next turn because I haven't shuffled things up. But it's not the worst card to have in hand anyway, so not too worried about that. A Chromatic Lantern for our opponent. They've got 4 cards left in hand, and they shouldn't have any trouble recasting Kykar next turn. We've also got the Kharn's Bastion. Now what they could do is untap these 2 lands and go for the Proliferate to put more counters on Teferi, but instead have gone for Path to Exile. We'll definitely say yes to that. And let's get ourselves into a swamp. Now we've still got 3 power on the board. This might be a Coiling Oracle. Okay, they decided to Cyclonic Rift the Beast token, which obviously doesn't go back to our hand. Let's go for an Entomb here. And then it's Life from the Loam we want. Yeah, let's put Life from the Loam in the bin. And then just to ensure that we're drawing into a land, we will grab the Terramorphic Expanse with Life from the Loam, and we dredge a Crop Rotation, Underrealm Lich, and a Lotus Cobra. They're actually things that we'd rather not dredge. So we might as well crack these now and get them back with Life from the Loam. get into a Bayou. Then we'll cast the Birds of Paradise. We can untap a couple of lands to keep our Garruk in play. Then we'll play the Courser of Kruphix. See if we've got a land on top. We do, and it's a Gaia's Cradle, not a bad one to get into. So let's definitely play that off the top. We'll gain a life. And then we'll go for the crack on the Wooded Foothills so that we can get all 3 lands out of the graveyard and back into our hand. So we'll just play Overgrown Tomb intact. And now we can spend that mana to get these fetches back. And we've got a tutor on top as well, which isn't the worst thing, is it? So we will just leave it at that, I think. And if Teferi becomes too much of a problem for us, then we can go for something with Vampiric Tutor. They've only got 3 cards left in hand, and if they just want to spend all their mana to get Kykar down, then I don't think we're going to have too much of a problem there. Not minusing down Teferi, instead deciding to plus him up. That is a -A emblem. Whenever you draw a card, exile a permanent an opponent controls. We'd obviously rather keep our opponent off that. They might be proliferating here though. With Khan's Bastion, they have to pay 4 mana to do that. But then deciding against it. There is a Time Spiral from our opponent. We didn't have much going on in the graveyard anyway, so not too worried about that. But that does give our opponent a lot of stuff in hand. And obviously they get an extra turn after a Time Spiral as well. Madomai, the Ageless, comes down, and that will get our opponent extra turns as well, so some kind of extra turn tribal we're looking at here, I think. We don't need that stop on the upkeep anymore because we're not going for any Life from the Loam effects or tutors or anything like that. Cabal Coffers untapping with an Urborg in play seems pretty good. We can untap Cabal Coffers and Gaia's Cradle with Garruk. We could Expedition Map for a Wasteland to get rid of blue mana off of our opponent's board, but we'd have to get rid of the Chromatic Lantern as well. I think wiping the board isn't the worst thing so that we get rid of this. Let's just tap for black mana first of all. And we'll go for a Wasteland. Then we'll see about getting our Gitrog into play. Then we will go for Reclamation Sage, I think. If we get a lot of creatures into play, then the Gaia's Cradle will actually tap for some decent mana. So let's get rid of the Lantern. That's fixing our opponent's mana nicely there. Then going for Wood Elves as well. That will obviously grab us a forest. Then we can go Gaia's Cradle into Rampant Growth and grab a Swamp. Then it's untapping the 2 big lands with the Garruk. And we will aim for our Gitrog Monster here. And now we can play an additional land, so we'll go for Field of the Dead and start getting some zombies on the go. Let's get down Expedition Map as well. I really don't like the idea of our opponent getting that Teferi off, so might go for cracking the Expedition land for something that can deal with that. Let's just have a look at the lands we can grab here. Yeah, I think a Wasteland to threaten our opponent's mana would be good. And then we can hold up the Realms Uncharted. So let's just leave it at that. And see if our opponent can deal with our board once more. A lot of red and white coming into play, so they're not having the best of luck with their blue production. We're really going to ruin their day if we Wasteland the Mystic Gate. Okay, going for another wheel here. They're just refilling our hand, which is not bad. We get back into the Realms Uncharted with an Azusa. So we could try and assemble the Dark Depths combo. And then even if our opponent wipes the board, we can probably come back from that. I'm just hoping that we don't see the limit break with Teferi currently. Getting into lots more mana with the Mox Amber and the Mana Crypt. We'll be able to switch off Mox Amber if we get rid of the Teferi, but currently that taps for Azorius. And then an Arena Rector. That's going to make it more difficult to swing in, but I think we'll just swing in and put up with whatever Planeswalker they go for. I don't think we can play around too much, having an Arena Rector in play. And then on top of our library, third from the top. Yeah, there's no way to quickly draw into that. We'll just replay it next turn, I think. So back into the command zone goes Gitrog. And now we can at least go wide and kill off the Teferi. Alright, getting into an Ancient Tomb is good. So let's go for the Ancient Tomb. That will get us into a Field of the Dead trigger. Oh, and I completely forgot to go for Realms Uncharted at the end of the turn there, didn't I? Oh well. Let's see about doing that now, maybe. We'll go for the Realms Uncharted and see if we can get into the... what is it called? The Thespian stage is what we want. And then we got our Wasteland shuffled away, didn't we? So let's grab that. Then there is Maze of Ith we don't care about. Command Beacon would be pretty good if we can start playing lands out of the graveyard. And we'll go with Reliquary Tower as well. And now our opponent has to give us a couple of these lands of their own choice. Alright, they do give us the Thespian stage, so that is good. Let's tap down Cabal Coffers. Go for the Gitrog yet again. Then we'll play Thespian stage. And tap a green for Azusa. That will allow us to make a couple more land drops, so we'll go Dark Depths. And Reliquary Tower. And then we've got 2 mana floating. Not going to bother going for the Dark Depths combo just yet, so let's... how much mana is that? That's too much mana. Just deciding to go for the Mana Reflection now. Could have done that at the beginning of the turn, I suppose. And then we'll go in and attack Teferi. We've got the Brutalizer Exarch to get rid of whatever Planeswalker they go for. We can put a non-creature permanent on the bottom of its owner's library. So they'll no doubt block here and kill off the Rector. Okay, they're just deciding to leave the Arena Rector around, which is curious. So they may be assuming that we've got an answer for the Planeswalker that fishes out. Which we do, so it's good play on their part if that's what they're thinking. Tap down the Gaia's Cradle for mana. And let's just get down the Underrealm Lich. Not going to play the Avenger of Zendikar or the Brutalizer Exarch. I want to take our opponent by surprise with that. Then we'll untap with Garruk on the Cabal Coffers and the Gaia's Cradle. And we don't need all that mana, so let's see if our opponent can get into a board wipe. We've got an Indestructible 2020 with flying coming in at our opponent next turn if we want to. We can get this combo off at the end of our opponent's turn. They might have swords or a Path to Exile in hand. I don't think... no, they didn't get exiled at any point. They did get shuffled back into the graveyard. Or back into the library, I should say. So they could have exile for the Marit Lage. And there is that board wipe that we were talking about. We only need 2 mana to activate the Thespian stage, so we're fine with getting the board wiped. But they do have to wipe the board there if they've got it, because we've got overrun next turn with these zombies, so that would probably win us the game, so let's just allow that. That triggers the Arena Rector, and they'll get a Planeswalker here. They've also got a 10/10 Horror. Never seen the card art for that token, actually. They've gone for our favourite, Teferi, Temporal Archmage, so they'll be able to start making use of that Mana Vault again if they want to. Pretty late in the game here, turn 8, and they're still heavily relying on the Mystic Gate for blue mana. untapping the Crypt, the Vault, and their Boros and Redland. And then going for the Proliferate with Kharn's Bastion. They probably want to ride this to victory, but they're still a ways off. It's a -10 for an emblem. And this one is activating loyalty abilities at flash speed. Oh, Oath of Teferi. Yeah, that gets them another activation, so they can go for the plus here and put themselves up to 6. And then it would be 7 and 8 and a Proliferate, so the turn after next, they can actually get the emblem off there. But this is exactly why I held on to the Brutalizer Exarch. We can put the Teferi back into our opponent's library. And then finishing things off with an Izzet Boilerworks, bouncing a land back to hand. And that should be their turn over, I think. Noteworthy that they can still make Azorius with this thanks to the Oath of Teferi, which is a legendary permanent. Oh, and I thought they ticked up the Teferi. But apparently not, so they're going to untap again. Which means that we've got more stuff incoming. Ah, and there we are, Kykar coming back down again. 3 cards left in our opponent's hand. Now, if we hit them in the face for 20, and they can't dodge the Lightning Bolt from Mana Crypt, then that is going to be the game won for us, so let's see how lucky we are with that. They could still have Swords to Plowshares mana with the Mox Amber. Activate the Thespian Stage, making a copy of Dark Depths. And then we choose which one to keep. We will keep the one with no counters on it, which is the Thespian Stage copy. Then that ability goes on the stack. And we end up with a Marit Lage token. Got this combo off plenty of times in the Gitrog deck. It's not too difficult to assemble. Alright, Vampiric Tutor. Can we draw into any cards? I don't think we can. Alright, well first of all, let's swing into our opponent, see if they've got anything for us. They have a stop at combat, but deciding to let it through. Kykar obviously being forced to block. Oh, actually, now that I think about it, we could have given that trample, couldn't we? Oh well. Not too worried about it. This doesn't have trample, does it? No, so we can get a lot of blockers in the way. Let's get down the Gitrog Monster yet again. Then it's Avenger of Zendikar. And we'll get a hell of a lot of plant tokens here. Can't make landfall yet, unfortunately, but we can chump the Horror. And then we will go for Brutalizer Exarch. And we can put a non-creature permanent on the bottom of the library. We'll go for Teferi, so that we don't have to worry about shenanigans with that anymore. And then we will tick up our Garruk again, just so that we can minus it down for Overrun next turn. If our opponent can't wipe the board, then we get them with Overrun. We'll just go for Field of the Dead and Cabal Coffers being untapped, and hold up a Vampiric Tutor. Yeah, had I have given the Marit Lage Trample with the Garruk, then we still could have... What would it have been? 23? Yeah, we would have still got through for 20 points of damage. So let's see if our opponent gets Lightning Bolted here. Then we could have won the game last turn, or at the beginning of this turn. Nope, they dodged that, so we wouldn't have won anyway. But they are going to get pinged here, so they would have been down to 1 life. Now it's a Narset Transcendent. They can go for a board wipe with that ability, what is it, Rebound, which might dissuade us from casting creatures again, but instead going for the card draw. They reveal Assemble the Legion, which isn't much use to them. That's way too slow a card. That's a pet card of mine actually, I really like this, but maybe I could make it work in multiplayer, but too slow for 1 versus 1 I think. And then they can go for it again because of that Oath of Teferi. And there's the board wipe or steer command. So we're going to have to go for something really good with Vamp Tutor, I think. At least they can't destroy the Marit Lage with Austere Command. Our opponent going for the Austere Command. And that gets rid of Mana Reflection and the Gitrog Monster, Avenger of Zendikar, and Brutalizer Exarch. Does not get rid of the plant tokens when we've got Garruk at limit break range, so I'm assuming that they've got an answer there. Also, doesn't get rid of Marit Lage, obviously. And there we are, that's clearly all our opponents got for us. We would have Vampiric tutored there, but I'm not entirely sure what we would have tutored for, but we definitely would have gone for something with that. So all the plan is here is to use Garruk's overrun ability of +3/+3 and trample, and we go wide with plants and deal the vast majority of the damage with our Marit Lage token. Had we have swung in with a 23/23 indestructible in the air, that had trample, they would still have blocked with Kykar. We would have gotten 20 points of damage through to them and they would have been knocked down to 1. But I suppose it would have only been a matter of time until they get lightning bolted / pinged to death by the Mana Vault and or Crypt. So that might have been the thing to go for anyway, but I wanted to make sure that we get a definite win on our opponent with some kind of Alpha Strike effect. But our opponent had us on the ropes there and it was looking pretty sketchy. Not often that I get reduced to only 1 card in Gitrog, so it's a credit to my opponent's deck and gameplay ability there. Hopefully you all enjoyed that one. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.